I gave my boyfriend an ultimatum that he has to marry me, but I'm starting to regret it. My boyfriend and I are both around 30. 6 months ago, we moved in together after finishing grad school and relocating to a new city for work. We've been together for 4 years, and living together has been smooth, no major issues. We're happy, want the same things from life, and get along great. The problem is, I've known for a while he's the one. I want to spend the rest of my life with him. I want to settle down and start a family soon. I've had a serious relationship before that lasted 4 years too, so I know what I want. But my boyfriend just isn't in the same headspace mentally. Here's why. First, he matured late when it comes to relationships. I'm his first real girlfriend. Second, he struggles with making decisions about anything, from work choices to which sneakers to buy. When we talk about the future, I straight up say I'm ready to settle down with him right now. He says he loves me, that things are great, but he needs more time to see where it's going. He even jokes that he hasn't had enough women yet. Last year, we had serious talks about where to live after graduation. I told him I wouldn't move to the same city as him unless we were engaged. He didn't propose, but I held firm. Against all odds, we both landed jobs in the same city halfway across the country from where we were, so we moved there together and rented an apartment. Now, I'm getting tired and stressed about this situation. It's become my main source of anxiety and the biggest roadblock in our relationship. So in September 2017, I told him that when our lease ends in April 2018, I'd move out if we weren't engaged. He's never made a decision in his life without a deadline, so I thought this would push him in the right direction. But now I'm scared he won't propose, especially since he says outright he won't. And I'm regretting the ultimatum. Maybe I was an idiot for risking everything good just to speed things up, but damn, it's been 4 years. I'm also worried that if he does propose, it'll be forced, and he'll resent me forever. On the other hand, I gave him a similar ultimatum last year during the job hunt, and he made it clear he'd rather be in a different city, which would have meant breaking up than get engaged. I want to think I'm being rational. But am I just desperate and stupid? If he doesn't propose by April, should I stick to my guns and move out, basically sacrificing an amazing relationship because it isn't moving at my pace? I'm open to any questions. This is getting too stressful, and I'm grateful to anyone who takes the time to read and give advice. Before we continue to the update, let's give some advice to the author right now. What would you do in this situation? Would you pressure the guy with an ultimatum or not? For this woman, should she stand her ground or back off somehow? Personally, I think ultimatums are totally normal. Pressuring someone is fine overall, life's tough like that. I'm sure the comments will be full of people saying, no, that's unacceptable, but put yourself in her shoes. She's been dating this guy for years and needs some certainty. You want marriage, but he doesn't, and you don't want to waste time. What then? You have to be honest and lay down the ultimatum. Yeah, it's uncomfortable, but it's real. The key is not to issue ultimatums you can't follow through on, because that backfires. Here, the woman is already doubting if she did the right thing. Let's see what happened next. Update 1, my boyfriend acknowledged the ultimatum, and I tried using it as a chance for a serious talk about our future. We sat down a few times to discuss, but it led nowhere, and he told me to drop the topic. I did. We lived happily for a bit, but the ultimatum lingered. Part of me hoped he was secretly planning a surprise proposal. Nope. Now, with 10 days until the March 31st deadline, I'm 100% committed to it. He just said he wants me to visit his parents in September. Then, after that trip, he'll talk to them about us and think about proposing in December. Part of me is furious and insulted by this. First off, I've already met his parents and spent plenty of time with them. They like me, I like them. They live in a remote state that's hard to get to, flights are expensive, and driving would take 2 days. I've suggested visiting them multiple times, but he's always had excuses. The worst part? We planned our vacation last week months in advance. He said he was going to his parents and vaguely mentioned inviting me, but when I looked at flights, which were affordable then, and tried to organize, he said, not now, too busy, and kept delaying. Then, less than 3 weeks before the trip, he declared I had to go with him to his family, or there'd be no proposal. By then, all the flights I'd been tracking had skyrocketed in price, making it a huge financial burden for me. Honestly, his behavior was crappy. He dumped it on me last minute instead of planning ahead like I suggested. I thought it over and decided not to go. Now he's saying he can't propose because I haven't been to his family's home. But I've met them multiple times. Our families know each other. He claims they won't approve without it. If he'd told me before prices spiked, it wouldn't have been an issue. We've had several vacations since the ultimatum, we could have gone then. It feels like he's setting me up to fail so he can blame me later for no proposal. Not sure if this matters, but he's Asian American, born in the US, and I'm white. I asked if the family visit demand was cultural. He said, maybe. I don't want to dismiss his culture, so if anyone knows about this, share. Now, with 10 days to the deadline and him realizing I'm serious, he's begging me not to follow through. But he's not proposing. He says it's illogical because he'd propose in December anyway, but he's willing to risk losing me to avoid doing it in April. I get his logic, if we both want marriage, what's the rush? But I can't do this anymore. Plus, he's an adult, and it insults me that he's blaming his parents for not hosting me at home. They keep asking him about his plans with me, they don't know about the ultimatum. It seems like they're as curious as I am about our future. I doubt they straight up told him, have her visit first, then propose. Just my thoughts. Any advice or comments appreciated. Update 2, March 2018. I couldn't follow through on the ultimatum. I was set to move out, I even found a new place and wrote the deposit check. But at the last second, I couldn't imagine life without him. I decided I love him too much to leave over a deadline I set. I also believed he meant it about proposing in December. It felt stupid to dump him after 4+ years just because I didn't want to wait a few months. As a compromise, he agreed we'd get a cat, I'd wanted one forever, but he was against it, and that he'd go to at least one family event with me this year. On March 31st, the day I was supposed to move, we adopted a cat together. April-September 2018. We enjoyed life together, barely mentioning the ultimatum. We both needed to recover. I started therapy and focused on myself, picked up running as a hobby, made new friends, poured time into my career and our amazing cat. I think shifting my focus to me, work, and friends took some pressure off him. A few family events came up, but he always had excuses not to go, though maybe that's not a big deal. By summer's end, things were great again, like the ultimatum never happened. Though he kept complaining about our cat. September 2018, trip to his family. As promised, I visited his parents' home in September. As I mentioned, he's Chinese American, and I'm white, so I brushed up on basic Chinese to understand and speak a bit while we were all together. The trip was awesome, I genuinely enjoyed time with his parents and loved his hometown. I left a few days early so he could have alone time with them to talk about our future. I asked a few times how the talk went, and he said they're happy about our future but that December for an engagement is too soon. That sounded totally insane to me, and it felt like he was projecting his own views onto them. He also said I need to learn Chinese before the wedding. His parents speak English fluently but prefer Chinese in family settings, so I started lessons. October-December 2018. Around November, I started worrying he'd back out again. His usual excuses popped up. For example, he casually said he couldn't propose in December because we needed to save money. We have joint finances, no money issues for either of us. Another time, he panicked about my student loans. In my field, that's normal. I have a stable job, good salary, and auto payments. He demanded to see my financial spreadsheet before thinking about our future. Luckily, I had one ready, I showed it, and he calmed down. Meanwhile, friends and family kept asking about wedding plans. Their intentions were good, but it stressed me out more, as I feared there'd be no wedding after all this. I worked with my therapist to let go of the stress and steered family convos away from wedding talk. I made rules for myself, no whining, no hints about marriage or engagement. I wasn't doing much of that anyway, thanks to the ultimatum lesson. We spent Christmas together for the first time that year, and I was sure he'd propose, but he didn't, and I said nothing, didn't sulk. For New Year's, he went to his family while I worked in our city. Nothing happened. January 2019. I accepted he broke his word, even though I held up my end. I was the perfect girlfriend he asked for and tried to use it for growth personal and in the relationship, but nothing changed. I stuck to my no-pressure rule, suppressing all thoughts about wanting to marry him. It got to where I started associating my own marriage desires with shame and self-hate, like they were bad thoughts I shouldn't have. Realizing I was ashamed of my own wants about the future was awful. But the last few weeks, a few things hit me hard. First, one of my bosses offered great career prospects if I stay long-term. But my boyfriend wants to move out of our city because he doesn't like it. I'm okay with it. Plus, he flat out refuses to ever move to my home state. Reason, my family lives there, and they annoy him. I thought, damn, this guy is putting all these limits on my life while he can't commit long-term. Then, this weekend, I went to my home state for my best friend's baby shower. I want kids too, that's the main reason marriage is urgent for me. Biological clocks ticking. Yesterday, helping her and her husband set up the nursery, I had an epiphany. It's normal to want marriage and kids. Nothing shameful about it. Right now, not just my dreams are being crushed by him, no marriage, can't stay in a city with job prospects, can't move home where my family is. But I've started shaming myself for any desires that clash with his. So I'm making a plan to move forward because this guy takes more from my life than he adds. I'd love opinions or advice on next steps. I'm open to hearing it all. And yeah, to those who said in March I should have left, I totally deserved this. Thanks for reading. Comments: why isn't his reluctance to marry seen as just as normal as her desire to wed? Sure, she can break up, but pressuring him with an ultimatum is absurd if he doesn't want marriage. Author: from the start, he said he wants marriage and 2 to 3 kids. In the last 1 to 2 years, he sometimes said he wants that with me. But lately, he says, I can't marry you when I do something dumb he doesn't like farting near him. I call him out, and he claims it's a joke. But yeah, by his words, we want the same things. He just has this mental block preventing steps to make it real. Plus, the constantly shifting timelines and endless tests he puts me through with rings show he's stalling. I asked why, he gives excuses about family, money, loans, etc. I think either those are real reasons, or he's hiding something. Comment: the author has way more flaws than just not listening. Bet she has her own issues she isn't sharing. I'm not expecting perfection. Just saying, without both sides, I'm not calling her guy an asshole. Author: of course I have flaws, commenters have pointed many out. And no one's all good or all bad. The key realization: I've outgrown this relationship. People afraid of commitment fear both breakups and marriage. They avoid big decisions, so things stagnate. The partner feels inadequate, but it's not them. Author: oh my god, that's exactly my boyfriend. I'm talking to him tonight and know he'll be as upset about breaking up as marrying. Final update: last night, I talked to my boyfriend about all this. I started by asking what's holding him back and how he sees our relationship. He said his parents think things are moving too fast and listed issues he has with us. First, we don't make decisions together, like me wanting to stay in our city for career reasons despite him wanting to move next year, or me planning friend meetups on weekends without us planning together. Second, he worries about my Amazon packages, he doesn't know what I'm buying. I showed him my order history, mostly household stuff we both use, plus occasional hobby items, max $20 per month, all on my card that I pay off easily. So I don't think I need to clear every purchase. Third, he hates that I'm chronically 5 minutes late everywhere. That's true, my bad. And as commenters noted, he said none of this ties to cultural differences or us being interracial. But after all that, he said he's not ready for marriage. I was furious and said I wish I'd heard this a year ago so I could have moved on. Basically, he was stringing me along for another year to decide if he's ready. I told him the relationship is over, and he seemed shocked. Now he's being super nice, probably to change my mind, but I'm standing firm. And that's the end of the story. I think she did the right thing. The only tweak? She should have left right after the ultimatum. My take, though, on the other hand, now she won't wonder what if about waiting a bit longer. Now, on to the next story. Story 2, I slept with my ex-wife again. Hey. My ex is 47, I'm 45. We've been divorced 3 years. We have 2 sons, Wyatt and Jack. We split mostly over the kids and different parenting styles. My ex is a genius with a PhD, she's a research scientist, I'm an analyst. She grew up with cold parents who drilled strict discipline and schedules into her for success. I grew up in a warm family where I was allowed to find my own path. Those approaches clashed when it came to our kids, especially once they started school. She wanted them laser-focused on academics. I thought they should just be kids, enjoy life, and figure things out. After months of fights, we realized it wasn't working. We parted amicably. She even pays way more child support than required and insists on it. We still do Christmas and birthdays together for the kids. The boys mostly live with me by choice. She sees them about once a week, but as teens, they sometimes want weekends to themselves. My oldest, Wyatt, once said some of it's her fault for being too strict. I remind them she's still their mom and did what she thought was right, they owe her respect at least. And then this happened a few days ago. Kids were on break, so my ex has been coming by more during the week to see them. She stopped by, but both boys were at friends' houses. Since she'd driven all that way, I invited her in for a drink. We chatted and ended up looking at old photos of the kids. We laughed until we got to one of the boys at 6 and 2, me holding them both on my shoulders, all 3 of us grinning. My ex burst into tears and started apologizing for everything. I was confused but hugged her and said she did what she thought was right and doesn't need to apologize for wanting to be an involved mom. We sat like that for a while, but neither wanted to let go. Then she looked at me like we were dating again. We started kissing, and it escalated. It was like all 12 years of marriage hit us at once. During it, she kept crying and saying she loves me. She left quickly before the kids got back, and we haven't talked until today. Today, I got a text from her asking to meet alone and talk. What do I do now? On one hand, we're still not indifferent to each other. On the other, this could be a huge shock not just to our kids but the whole family. Before the update, let's answer the author's question, what would you do? I'd look at my current life. If I have no prospects for marriage or dating, I'd probably get back with my ex. Why not? They have a ton in common, they're kids. If neither is seeing anyone, no candidates, give it a shot. Date for a bit, see how it goes. If it's good, reunite, if not, decide to stay apart for good. On to the update. Update, hey everyone. A bit of time has passed, but I have an update. First, thanks for the great advice, it really helped me prep for the talk with my ex. We met 2 days after her text. I went to her apartment, and we had a great conversation. About a year after the divorce, she started therapy to sort out her life. Digging into her childhood, she realized she was repeating her parents' strictness with our kids, the same thing that made her resent them. That's why she was always closer to my mom than hers. She teared up and said she never stopped loving me and that, despite the papers, I'll always be her husband. She admitted that on the day it happened, she knew the boys wouldn't be home and wanted alone time with me. Seeing the old photos overwhelmed her. She said she misses me, is willing to do anything to fix things, and at least wants to be my partner again. I said I always cared for her, missed her too, and still feel something. By evening's end, we admitted we still love each other and decided to try again. Terms, take it slow, regular couples therapy, and don't tell the kids yet. Since then, we've spent almost every day together and had our first session. It went well despite everything, and we laid a foundation for our new, or old, relationship. We'll keep going, it's a good start. A couple days ago, I hosted a family dinner. The boys don't know yet, I just said it'd be good to eat together. Honestly, my wife has really changed. She was more open with the kids, asking about their sports, friends, hobbies. They responded great, for the first time in ages, they chatted and laughed with her enthusiastically. She even planned a zoo trip for all 4 of us, like when the boys were little. I think the oldest suspect's something but didn't show it. Our co-parenting well acted as great cover. Things are good now, and deep down, I think we never truly fell out of love. We'd have found our way back eventually, regardless of that day. Thanks again for the warm words and support. And that's the end of the story. I'm really glad they got back together. The only sad part is the long, years-long separation. Sure, you can spin positives like finally realizing how much they mean to each other. But it could have gone wrong. One or both could have started new families and lived unhappy. In my opinion, the wife should have gone to therapy during the marriage to unpack her baggage. Then maybe no divorce. Sadly, so many of us think, why see a therapist? I know what they'll say. That's a huge mistake for tons of people. Thank God we have AI now. You can query it for advice. But after chatting with AI on psych topics for a while, you realize you need a real person to talk to. At least that's how it was for me. AI's great for quick tips, but long-term therapy isn't replaced by ChatGPT, DeepSeek, or Grok. By the way, it'd be cool to hear your thoughts. Have you tried AI consultations versus real therapists? What differences did you notice? Would love to know. Thanks for listening to the end. Check out our previous videos linked here. Subscribe if you haven't for some weird reason. Good luck!